got to do the preliminary, didn't I?
Maybe I missed it.
Laura, can you hear us? Can anyone hear us? Susan can hear us.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, thank you very much. Just for anyone that's viewing by Zoom, we'll have a public comment period here after we get through some of our preliminary stuff. If you want to speak, unmute yourself and give us your name, please. Anyone that wants any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on. Do we have anyone in here, Susan, that signed up?
Rocky Romano.
Rocky?
Assessor Rocky
is,
Romano.
Normal, not right yet, Rocky.
Good morning, all know.
We'll give you when we do the public comment. All right, the 10 o'clock, we have a Carice Dixon from Wolf Summit area.
I don't believe any, well, at least the first hearing individuals have not appeared. Miss Dixon has not appeared.
Have they all been, Taylor from Wilsonburg, the Gumps from Wallace?
The ones from Wallace, Mr. Gump and Ms. Hamilton, that one has been cleaned up and been removed.
Okay, well, let's go ahead with the first two that's due at 10 o'clock, which is Dixon and Taylor. Are they here?
No, they are not here.
They are not here.
They were served. You've been provided, that's the current copy of Miss Dixon's property.
This here shows the nuisance.
That's the first hearing that we have.
All right, well, let's act on that then. Willie, are you saying that everything has been properly documented? Individuals have been notified?
To my knowledge, yes.
Well, let's ask Linda.
All right, these are not mine, these are Danny. He had a meeting to go to. I found out this morning, so I'm here. I was briefed on this one. This one is an elderly lady that's in her 80s. She does not have the money to clean this up. So we didn't know if this was one that we would want to help out with and then put a lien on, or
Who did the investigation?
Danny.
Is Danny here?
No, Danny's in another meeting.
He had another appointment today, so Ms. Cross filled in. Ms. Schaefer is in isolation at the moment based on a trip.
My question would be, if this is the only documentation that we commissioners have.
That's the most recent picture. We have the file. I didn't realize you didn't have, oh, yeah, that's the file.
This is file here?
Yeah. The backup file, yes.
More pictures?
It has the list of what transpired as well as one picture in the letter that was sent to her in November 16th, 2018. And then the certified mail associated with that, and then her response in November the 3rd, a letter to Mr. Hamrick. And then, there's nothing been done since then. And then notice was served on the 13th of August for the hearing today.
With all due respect to, I mean, if this is the only thing that we see, and she's 80-some years old, I would think that the community out there would help take the vegetation off of the house, maybe even do a paint job for her. I don't know what the, without having the Danny here to sort of go over it, Linda doesn't seem to have the.
It's uninhabitable, dilapidated structure on the property according to the letter.
According to Danny.
Yes, that was the November 16th, 2018 letter. And
She says it is.
What's that, Dave?
She says it's.
That's her.
Yeah, she says that,
She's 82 years old.
yeah, she doesn't live in it.
No,
All right. What's the pleasure of the commission?
I know, why don't you see if she wants to give it to the county commission, once you get an estimate on how much it would tear it down, and let us whack it, clean up the property, then put the property up for sale, somebody could have a nice piece of land.
Yeah, maybe even neighbors might, Patsy, I always like
Yeah,
to,
if we can tear it down for less than $10,000, it's going in for Harrison County.
I would assume there's probably a neighbor that's complaining, because we don't go out looking for it. All right, David?
I'm fine with that.
All right, you wanna, do a 30-day on that, Patsy?
Just a moment.
Okay.
I'm talking to you, Ron.
Yeah, I understand that. What time frame, Patsy?
Whatever you want, sir.
Let's do a 30-day. And, Linda, if it's not yours, and you're the one that's coming back to here, come back with all the knowledge and that you've gained from it, all right? Or have Danny or whoever's doing it, make sure they're here. All right, so we're gonna do a 30-day on that one. Ms. Dixon. All right. Adam Taylor.
The Taylor case, you have the picture that's the case that we're talking about there.
I can understand that one.
And then you have a file, should have a file associated with that for the previous, pictures and information also. Again, Mr. Hamrick was the one that looked at that. Initially, this was October the 18th of 2019 is when the first letter went out. Garbage on the property, junk on the property, as the pictures indicate extensively.
It's very evident.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the difference in the Taylor and the Dixon pictures.
yes.
As of yesterday, he's added more instead of cleaned up.
What's that?
There's been more added and nothing cleaned up.
Okay,
And he was served notice of the hearing on August the 20th by the sheriff's office process. So it's before the commission of,
Pat, did you see these? I mean, they're nasty.
how you would like, if you'd like to refer that to him. If you want to give additional time, refer it to legal counsel, what you would like to do.
David?
I think, we need to, go ahead and begin process on it. And I think you need to turn it over to notify the DEP too.
We'll have Ms. Cross or the planning department notify the DEP,
And it's being turned over to legal for,
and we'll,
for action.
For action.
because there is as you gentlemen can see, there is a stream behind it. And it looks like some of the debris is making it to the stream.
Yep.
So,
All right. Motion all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that takes care of 10 o'clock. Our next one is at 10:15, but we'll go to public comment. Rocky, you're on.
All right, hey guys, thank you for giving me the time. First thing I wanted to say, I appreciate all that you three commissioners do and all the other elected officials. We know what it's like to go out there to try to get elected. It's not an easy thing to put yourself out there and go for it. I have been frustrated sometimes with the arguments you guys have in these meetings. It's kind of embarrassing when we see people out on the street. Oh, it's funny what's going on up there. Well, quite frankly, I don't think it's funny. I think, with the new building, I feel like nobody has stepped up and said from the offices, we are cramped in space. Let's face it, the COVID has proven that over and over and over again. The hallways, I got people lined up, we can't get them in here. We have no counter space, we need the space. The way I look at it, in 1924 to 1932, when this building was built, I'm sure there was plenty of people that complained about this building not needing to be here or not, whether we need it or not. And I hear people talk about the golf building and the Chase building. Those buildings are out in the middle of the ocean because those ships sailed. I mean, why do we keep talking about that kind of stuff? You guys work to it. I'm frustrated with the fact that this commission has, and Willie has mentioned a couple times, that the assessor's values need to be up. Well, the assessor's values are in compliance. We're 90 to 110%. We're at 92 point some right now. We may be around 93, 94 this time, and that's what we're doing. We're keeping in compliance. These guys, they go to their classes, they do this, they go look at the property. It's not an easy job every day out there with these people. We do our best to get it, and we are in compliance, and we will continue to be in compliance. We would do the best for Harrison County and for the citizens of Harrison County. My belief is, whether that building gets built over there, but there needs to be space in this building. Patsy, you've made comments, we work from home, and we've done very well. My staff has done a phenomenal job from home. And the fact is, though, when we're back to normal, we need the space. We're on top of each other. Our data collection, our data entry department, I mean, my goodness, one gets sick, within 2 weeks, they're all sick. It's just, there's not enough space. 7 by 10 constitutes an office. I got 3 people in the 7 by 10 space in normal basis. So we need the room. What the answer is, I don't know. Maybe whatever you guys can do to make it work, I don't know. On these nuisance complaints, I sit here every time commission meeting, go through these nuisance complaints. Linda, Danny, them, they gotta go out there and work these, and they go nowhere. I mean, I was at the Farm Bureau meeting last night, and they're against the code, they're against code, code enforcement and the building codes. But if we went to the legislators and we talked to the legislators and revamped the building codes to what they should be and exempt the farmers, we're not worried what the farmer builds out on his farm, and we're not worried that if they want to go fix the Johnstown community building and do it right and do it with the old materials that they have, that's great. But we got people, these people, they build things and they fall down, they let it go. You guys spend time and time again, then you spend the court time to finally fix it. If we had building codes to stop this kind of stuff, it's over. But I think the first and foremost, we need building codes as they are now. I disagree. That's going to hurt too many people that they don't need it. But if we would start, we have the voice in the legislation. We can start telling them to get these building codes, revamp them, do them right. Why don't we push that issue a little bit? But the biggest thing, guys, appreciate everything that you do. Let's get along. Let's make this work. I'm very easy to deal with. Sometimes I can get stubborn. We all can get stubborn, but we need to work through this. And as these guys will tell you, I mean, they work every day out there. You're picked on by the public, and you guys want to try to raise it up. I don't think the answer is to move the values up, and I don't think the answer is to raise the levy rate. I mean, where it's at in between, I don't know. That's why I'm not sitting up there.
Rocky, let me ask you, what was the pulse of the Farm Bureau when you started talking about property management or building codes, zoning, whatever?
Well, it didn't really talk about it. Bob Beach was there, and, he's senator in Mon County. He's also running for ag commissioner, and he talked a little bit, but he was talking about new programs. He was talking about getting greenhouses in the schools and, things that he wants to do, which I think are great ideas, and get started. I was impressed with the Farm Bureau because I'm sorry, but I hadn't been to a meeting since 2016, and I was impressed with all the young guys that were there last night. They got a nice group there. They're looking for more members. They need, but I think they got a good group right now, and they can work together, but everybody got to start working together. I don't care what it is. It don't work if we don't do it together. One person can't fight it and fight one way, another person fight another way. It don't fix it.
Questions of Rocky? Kathy? No? David?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you, Rocky. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, I hate to interrupt, but evidently Mr. Taylor is in the hallway. He arrived a little bit, a
All right,
few minutes ago.
we will, bring back, the 10 o'clock for Adam Taylor. If you will have Mr. Taylor come on in.
Mr. Taylor?
Mr. Taylor, go ahead and have a seat. All right, our previous action, which, we need to rescind at this point, or, how you wanna handle that, Willie?
You can just, hold it
Hold it,
at this point, and then if there's a change needed, you could make
if
that.
there's a change then. All right, apparently, Mr. Taylor, wants you to first of all know that we don't go out looking for problems and for dilapidated structures. Somebody in your neighborhood apparently called.
My neighbor.
And, you know, I've seen the pictures.
Mhm.
We've got the, report from our, investigator on it. If I was your neighbor, I'd be calling also.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So, Willie, give us a little snapshot so that bring us up to date as to when Mr. Taylor was first approached, how many, opportunities, that he had.
The, first letter, according to our file, Mr. Hamrick, was dated October the 18th, 2019, and mailed at that time. And, let's see if there was a deadline in there. 30-day, deadline was issued, and, you know, it was received at that point. Been revisited since that time, and, you know, no action was taken. In fact, it appears that it possibly could,
I've made changes.
those pictures are from yesterday,
Yeah, I know. I've made changes since then, actually.
since yesterday.
Yeah, junking a lot of that stuff, sir.
Okay,
So, and Hamrick,
Sorry to interrupt you.
no problem, no.
Hamrick, did he actually, did you meet with, Danny Hamrick? Did they talk to you personally?
No, sir. I haven't talked to nobody individual.
You just got the letters?
Yeah. Actually, the other pictures that I received was,
Did
And I
you
had a card-
understand the letters that was sent to you?
yes, sir.
Here's were the pictures that we sent out previously. Couple vehicles.
Yeah, the one across, the ones across the street.
That, you know, debris, that debris, and, you know, the letter was returned, the, certified letter was returned to us, but, it was then served. So I'm not sure what action was taken since October of 2019 until yesterday, and then something's changed since yesterday, evidently.
Yeah, sir, I tried to, load my dump truck for as much of that stuff as I could.
Our previous action, before you came in, was to turn it over to legal and let the court system, deal with you with regarding that. Because, Mr. Hamrick, on the pictures he took yesterday, doesn't show a lot of
Change.
changes in cleaning up. I mean, heck, it looks like you got a junkyard there.
Yeah, pretty much. I was gonna take
And
Mr.
right there next to the stream, it's a wonder DEP hadn't, been down there and talked to you.
Yeah, sorry, I understand that. They don't leak, I mean, they're not like, they look like crap right now, but they're not junk.
All right, we'll listen to you. Tell us why we shouldn't go to, circuit court on this.
Well, if you would not appreciate it, I mean, it'd be nice to, if I could have another 30 days, I'd really appreciate it. I'd clean up a lot.
What's that now?
I said if I could have another 30 days on it, I would clean it up a lot.
If you could have another 30 days.
I mean, I would appreciate that.
All right, let me ask the commissioners. Patsy?
Mr. Taylor, I'm the opposite of what President said. I constantly am looking for what you're doing,
Okay.
constantly. I can't stand it. I mean, I can't stand it. And I tell everybody, there is no shame in being poor, and there's no excuse for being poor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I got to come from a family that's believed that all our lives. If you think you can clean it up in 30 days, I believe you. But I want to let you know, I can't wait to get to the
All right.
So if you want the 30 days, I'm willing to do so. But I hope to goodness there's a significant improvement. And if not, I will personally ride out there and look at it. And I will personally take a look at your property and everybody else who's on the way out there and drive Linda and Danny crazy as I do to get this stuff cleaned up. Because it's not personal with me. It's the county, and I represent the county.
Yeah.
And I do look for it. I am very proactive.
All right. I appreciate that.
All right, David? All right, so I need a motion to rescind our previous action and to
Appreciate that.
allow 30 days.
Motion to rescind, please.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. 30 days.
30 days.
I go home and start today.
I'm on it.
All right, Mr.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right,
Ladies?
all right,
No, sir, I got that visual.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
and,
Thank you for your chance.
Larry Gump and Deborah Hamilton from Walls area understand that that has been taken care of,
Yes, that's my understanding.
so it's off the table.
Yes.
And Patsy, you make me feel bad that I'm not out there, chasing dilapidated homes and properties. It's on my way home? I don't go through Mount Clair. All right, 10:15, we have, Mr. Scott from Reynoldsville. How you doing? Mr. Scott? Hey, Iggy.
How you doing?
Good. All right, Mr. Parker, set the stage for us.
The first letter in the file, Mr. Hamrick, sent out was February 26, 2019, which was served by the sheriff's office on the 27th, and then also as a certified letter. You have a letter in the packet from Mr. Scott as a, acknowledging the condition, so to speak, and then we have the notice of the hearing today, that was served on August the 11th by the sheriff's office, and then the certified letter was also received. And,
All right. So only see one picture.
there's one picture that we have today, yes. So that was taken yesterday.
Linda, is this yours?
This is Danny's, it was taken yesterday. There's not been anything done to the property since his first visit and first letter.
That we can see.
Mr. Scott, is this somebody living there?
No, the house needs to be, either completely taken down or partly taken down, and I started on it probably March before last,
Yeah.
and something happened to my neck in, I guess in late April, early May, and I couldn't hardly move my head for about 3 months, and I got behind on everything I was doing, and, I came to the last meeting, but it was canceled because of the virus situation. And, I know the place has to be torn down, and I have plans on doing it, but I just got so far behind on everything, I haven't even been out there to cut the grass this year. It's really grown up a lot. I know that, and I acknowledge that, and what I want to do is ask for an extension. And, I don't know how long you can give me, but I appreciate the maximum amount of time you
Have
you
you
could allow
talked
me.
to, Danny Hamrick at all?
No, not about this, but I have another piece of property too that doesn't need maintenance, but I'd keep it maintained, and
Yeah.
I'll talk to him about those types of things. So we've had conversations, but I don't think we've mentioned anything about this.
What if we direct Danny to personally, get in touch with, Mr. Scott? and get a plan of action to get back to us.
I think I turned in a plan of action
Well, that's,
originally,
yeah, but
and then
let
that's before I
Danny,
got my neck got hurt, and
yeah,
so you just, a new plan of action in?
yeah, just let Danny and you get together.
Okay.
And, it'll be extended till that time, and then Danny can get back with us with the recommendation.
All right,
Can you do it by Wednesday next week so you can be on the agenda again? I'd like to hear the plan.
Yeah.
Because across the street from me is a very nice church.
oh, yeah, I know, those people are great, they've been great to me too, yeah,
You know, we've cleaned up beside the fire station.
right.
You know, it's getting better.
Yeah, I understand all that, and I have plans to improve it, believe me, but like I said, I got behind in everything. Pardon me?
We put it on the agenda again next Wednesday and have a plan by then, because you know.
Sure.
We know the house has been empty for a few years.
Long time, yeah.
And the grass hasn't been mowed.
No, it hasn't been mowed at all, I acknowledge that.
So please, maybe, I think 6 days to talk to Danny plenty.
Yeah, I'll go talk to him today.
Do whatever we can to help you and you help.
Yeah, sure,
Okay.
Mr. Hamrick's not here today, but
okay.
as you develop that plan, I'd recommend putting some timelines or periods in
Yeah.
there.
I did that before, I think, except what happened was, like I said, and then the other thing was, I was talking to somebody and said that you guys would have the place taken down or something, and do you have a list of people that do that for you? Because it'd be me by myself, and, I mean, I got one guy maybe come and help me.
Mr. Parker, about somebody that could do demo.
Would Mr. Hamrick know that too? or-
He would.
All right, so what do I do, just call in and find out when he's gonna be here then?
No, we'll have Danny get in touch with you, Eddie.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be the best. He's got it on record, and then, he'll get with you before, today's Wednesday. He should get with you maybe before the end of the week,
okay,
and then you guys can set the game plan.
and his office is on the top floor, I think?
Yeah,
Sixth
In the
floor.
back,
Mhm.
yeah, all right,
And Linda, make sure Danny knows to be here.
Do you have his phone number?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
All right, motion to that effect, to lay it for one more week. All right, that's the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Go in peace.
all right, thank you,
Thank you.
all right, see y'all later.
All right. Next week, hopefully, huh? 10:30, we have a request for space on the Shinston Tower, WVUX TV station. We got a new TV station coming?
Evidently so, and I don't know if they're on Zoom, if we can make that inquiry, if we can allow this done.
Questions for, on Zoom?
Mr. Carr,
Oh, Michael, okay, unmute yourself and identify yourself for the record. And
Hi, my name,
give us a snapshot of, what you're requesting from the county commission.
okay. My name is Michael Carr. This is my wife, Jennifer Carr. What we're asking for, we sent a letter, and in the first, it kind of outlines who we are. We're a television station. We broadcast out of Clarksburg, and it's for the entire Clarksburg Weston DMA. Over the last, 4 years, the FCC has been in an auction where they're selling off all of the broadband that was in television to basically T-Mobile, in a sense, all of the carriers. My station was actually displaced because of that, and Channel 10 is now moving to my Channel 13, and I'm moving to Channel 10. So we've been in like a holding pattern for the last 4 years. Well, when that happened, through the filings and that kind of thing, they discovered that I was going to need a broader spectrum and more equipment. So I have to move to a larger tower, and I have to be up higher, basically is what the situation is. So in our search for towers, we came across the tower in Shinston, which is centrally located for accessing all of the cable head-end sites. And what we'd like to do is get on the tower in Shinston and be able to access all of the head-end sites and broadcast to them. And for that, we'd like to trade with you to give you either access to give the the populace access to your commission meetings, or actually whatever you decided you wanted to put on our station. That's basically it.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
what is your format? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
Our format is basically a 24-hour premium movie channel. We broadcast, we are an affiliate of This TV, and we broadcast all of the movies from the MGM library. I don't know how many, I think it's like 10,000 titles they have. And it's movies from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. They're a national affiliate, and they're on in most markets. And we broadcast. We also have some of our own productions that we do. It would be a political show called the West Virginia Capitol Report. Dinner with Dan and Becky is a cooking show. We also do live football games. Now, these are all done in other locations because we haven't had access. On the hill we're on now, we don't have internet or reliable internet. So we've been struggling for the past 4 years by treading water. What I mean is we haven't been able to update our equipment because everything is basically frequency specific. So we weren't able to, make big purchases for the TV station because they would be, unusable basically in the next few months.
Other question that I have, should you go on that tower, how far up are you looking at putting your receivers or transmitters?
Well, what would work best for dissemination of the signal to all of the people of Harrison County would be as high as we could get. And I noticed a space when I was up there that's below about 460 to about 440. Our antenna would be about 24 feet long. However, it isn't actually on the tower. It's 3 feet off of the tower. So there would only be connectors up the side. I think 4 of them that would connect it to the tower. Also, there are filters on this, so we wouldn't be outside our frequency at all. It would be, channel 10, and that would be it.
All right. Our first priority to our towers is for first responders.
Absolutely.
We have 4 or 5, how many towers we have, Jim? 5 towers that provide that service for north central West Virginia, actually for Harrison, Taylor counties. Okay, any questions? Do you have any questions of Michael? How about David? My thought is to put it into committee for IT and for 911, Bump and Copenhagen and those guys, emergency management, to take a look at whatever from that. I don't know whether we have other people on our towers or not. Do we, Jim?
A couple of the towers, we do have some rentals.
Some rental? Mm-hmm. But it's been low, hasn't it?
Lower, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because our towers are like 460, 490,
460.
460.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How high do you want to go?
They're 480. I think we've been working with Sonny Jordan about, where would be the best spot for it. And I had mentioned downtown Clarksburg, and he said maybe Lost Creek or the Shinston Tower. So, and when I got there, I think the tower is 480. So that's why I was like, there's stuff on the top that is the first responders, I think, and state police. And then the empty section is the one that I was talking about up there.
All right, Mr. Parker?
Yeah, Mr. Jordan and other 911 personnel have been involved in review of this, is my understanding. We did have a meeting with, Ms. Sell and I had a meeting with Jim, Paul, and Sonny on this review, just to make sure it didn't interfere, make sure there was no issues that they knew of. And to my knowledge, there's not. The one questions, some of the questions that I had relate to the proposed expenditures, whether it's, talks about a tower inspection subject to FCC reimbursement, of $7,200, 5-ton air cooling unit subject to FCC reimbursement, with a deadline, according to, if I remember right, and Jim can correct me if I'm wrong, that's really not needed at this point.
That's correct, sir.
That building is already, has air conditioning units installed and such, so that is not needed. So it's a matter of the lease that, has been developed, and then modified by us, based on input we've received from, the West Virginia County's risk pool as it relates to some of the insurance, and so it's a matter of how the commission would like to proceed at this point.
Go ahead, David.
My question is, if you talk to the tire manufacturer and the antenna they want to place, does it stop you from in the future adding anything to our tire if this goes up?
To my knowledge, we've not had that conversation yet. Based on our previous talks, we don't anticipate any problems with the addition, if the commission approves, of the station's antenna.
Say that again, Jeff.
Based on our previous conversations, we don't anticipate any problems, but as to the question of, have we talked to the tower manufacturer? To the best of my knowledge, we have not had that conversation.
The only other thing I see is the FCC, or subject to FCC reimbursement. It's either make those charges, but we're not gonna wait to see if they get subject to FCC reimbursement as part of the agreement.
Item 8, as it relates to the cooling unit, we specifically discussed that, and to my knowledge, that is not needed, not required.
Not needed, not required.
From our, for our benefit currently, even if additional equipment's added, at this point, it would be sort of a duplication of expenditure. Now, as it relates to the tower inspection, in conjunction with the discussion with the tower manufacturer, Mr. Copenhaver, Mr. Bump, Mr. Jordan, you could have that. There may need to be a tower inspection as a result of that conversation.
So if we don't say we don't need the 5-ton air conditioning at this time, it's $20,000, so it's just gonna be paid to us for use of the tire.
It's what the commission so desires. That was not the intent of this lease agreement. The intent was to provide the space for a trade in broadcasting, meeting services, or whatever you wanted to, however you wanted to.
You've made this the $20,000 of an air conditioning unit in your original agreement, so that's a cost that somebody determined they wanted that value when they made this agreement. We're
Yes.
not gonna enforce that dollar amount for the agreement. Then if you don't want an HVAC system, what needs to be done at the fire site?
I would have to defer to 911 staff on that.
Do we need better fencing? Do we need security? I mean, we've
If I
agreed.
could, the 20,250 is a line item that WVX was approved for by the FCC, and that is only available for specifically an air cooling unit. And so that's why I put that in there, because it can go in the tower where WVX would be located, but it couldn't be changed to something else. They're very particular with how to use their federal funding, and that's the only thing that amount is approved for.
There are other funds available though, like electrical work. I think they have.
Yeah, I think there's like maybe up to $8,000 in electrical work, that could be, done there at the, tower. But
And these are all funds that are earmarked for the tower that I'm supposed to go on. So that's why we put it in the lease, because it's available to you if you can take advantage of it.
yes.
All right, Patsy?
I'll wait for Jim to get back.
So you wanna defer this?
Yeah, I definitely do.
All right. We want, Patsy, or Willie, we want to, defer this for further, questions and investigation by staff.
We'll follow up with the tire manufacturer as requested by the commission, see if there's other needs at the tire. We'll get with our 911 personnel to see if there's other needs at the tire and what funding may be available from whatever sources to address those needs.
Also, like to list who we have, tire space rented.
Right. Okay, so we have a motion to table.
Please.
We have a motion to table at this point. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All right, Jim, so is Sonny still with us, or did he retire?
Sonny issued his letter of retirement yesterday. He's with us to the 18th.
Okay,
If we could have that by next week, if we can have those discussions and
Yeah.
plan back for next week.
We will have your discussions, and we will have answers for you by next week.
all right, did you, understand, Mr. Carr? We just tabled it for a week for further, investigation by staff.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Right,
We'll be back
go
next
ahead,
week.
mute yourself again, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to our consent agenda. What's the pleasure?
Commissioner Priestley.
Any further discussion? Here or no? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Payroll change notices.
You have,
There's three, I see.
three there, just a little bit of explanation on a couple of them. There's one, Robert Matheny II, that's coming to the commission for approval, which, since A, it's security, and then outside, the sheriff, due to the relationship, has been advised not to be involved in any of those type decisions, so therefore, it was brought to the commission just as an approval process. The other is a reinstatement of a deputy sheriff, a pending action by the Civil Service Commission. I think that meeting is this afternoon, if I'm not mistaken, is when it's scheduled for. And the other one is a rehire of a part-time individual at Parks and Recreation.
All right. What's the pleasure? All right, we have a motion to approve. Any further discussion? Here or no? Go ahead, David. None?
I'm worried about the deputy because he hasn't been approved by the Civil Service Board.
Well, it's, pending, I'm assuming it'll be pending whatever the
My
board.
motion is to recess this, or to postpone this till the board gives us a notification this afternoon, and then approve,
Come back in session.
come back in session for that.
All right, since it's raining, I don't need you guys to help me mow grass, so. All right, you hear what you have to say?
But when they send over their paperwork to say that he's being reinstated,
All right, let's,
proper procedure, I don't understand why we would vote for somebody when the Civil Service Board is not performed their duty correctly.
all right. Robert, are you still with us? Sheriff Matheny.
Yeah, I'm here. I was having a little trouble unmuting. Yeah, I've listened to your conversation, and I do understand that However, with the PROs going back into the schools, we was hoping to actually have that deputy, and we had a little mix up in the process on the Civil Service Commission, and they worked diligently to get that meeting in this afternoon so we could schedule this deputy for afternoon shift. I don't foresee any problems. It's just a procedural move that the commission, Civil Service Commission, would have to make. It's all within code. I don't know of any reason why it won't be. And that's why I put on there that his reappointment would be conditioned upon. So he knows that his offer of reemployment is conditional, and it's based on a conditional number one with the advice and consent of the county commission, and also with the Deputy Sheriff Civil Service Commission putting him first on the list. So, I can understand Dave's point, but I think it's a moot point, and I hate to see you guys have to come back in for something that it's just routine. But whatever the wish of the commission, and we could put it off till next week if have to, and he's aware that may be a possibility.
Sheriff, I think what David says is that we can recess, and then when we get the results from the Civil Service Commission, which should only be a matter of minutes, then we can reconvene and approve the hiring just to legitimize the process. Is that what it is, David?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine if you guys want to do that. I just would hate to take up your time. I know you've got a lot more pressing issues, and it's legitimate if you would do it now, if you would vote and approve it conditionally upon the move of the Deputy Sheriff Civil Service Commission. But of course, that's your call to make.
I'll do that conditionally. I agree with both of you right now, you and Commissioner Hinkle. I'll vote to do it conditionally.
So that means to approve it pending that.
Yes, please. That way he's right, then we don't have to
All right. Sheriff, one more question. I know when we hire certified officers, there's a bonus. Harris doesn't qualify for that bonus, correct?
No, we don't offer that to reappointments because what the fear would be is people would leave and then come back just for the bonus. So yeah, right. He is not eligible for the certified officer sign-on bonus.
All right. So Patsy's motion, David, is pending stipulation with Civil Service Board. All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No, and I'd like to go on the record that, again, we're approving something, even though we're saying that it's after the fact. We're setting a precedent for all boards that meet in sunshine, but we will wait till after the fact. So I think that's proper for us to do that.
All right. Okay, that's, we do have it recorded. That's the already signed these?
No one signed it yet.
Started the 26th.
Yeah.
There's three. That's part-time.
Yeah.
That's David's signature.
That's David has not signed.
It's all right.
These yours hadn't done. These yours hadn't done.
Joanne.
My tongue gets me into trouble when I ever count.
February.
You want to sign these?
And those. All right, item 4, exonerations, corrected tickets, joint property applications.
And we do have a few.
All right,
Move to approve.
we have a motion to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Consolidation of land, segregation of land.
We have none.
Item 6, do we have any,
We do.
all right, consider the approval of project fund requisitions for the payment of costs associated with the project to be financed from proceeds from Series 2019 bonds issued to Charles Point Economic Opportunity Development District, Series 2015 A and B, Development District Number 3, White Oaks Project Number 2, and Series 208A, Charles Point Project Number 2, Northland Bay Improvements. Mr. Park.
The first item, the first one we have is in the amount of $1,852,195.50. And that is, for Wolf Excavating in the amount of just over 1.5 million, Fair Contracting in the amount of, just over 227,000, Civil and Environmental Consultants in the amount of just over 76,000. DEP, $1,500 for renewal of a annual groundwater protection permit. And then James Christie in the amount of just over $10,000. The other one we have is for Genesis Partners Limited Partnership for project management services in the amount of $92,609.78. Those just require the president's signature if the commission so authorizes.
All right, what's the pleasure? Those funds are out of the special fund and not from general fund. Correct? Mr. Barker?
I'm sorry,
It's not out of general fund dollars? It's
No.
out of
the bond proceeds.
the bond proceeds. We have a motion to approve.
Motion approved.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item 7 is review, discuss, and consider request for travel to Snowshoe Mountain Resort on October 5th through 9th for the West Virginia State 911 Conference. And it's listing a few individuals there.
Cutright will be the only individual, as I know, that will be attending in person. We'll have 2 others, Travis Miller and Becca Martin, that will be attending virtual. So there'll be 1 that will be attending in person and 2 that will be attending via virtual, however they set that up.
Is that conference adhering to the governor's 25-person gathering? Or do we know?
I'm not sure how many people will be in attendance.
All right. Questions, discussion, motion? Mr. Copenhaver, you want to add any,
Just one comment, sir. Mr. Cutright's attendance, his lodging, will be paid for by the state's, committee, the EFCO committee, EFCO NINA, so the county will not have that cost to consider for reimbursement.
all right? Pleasure of the commission. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 8 is review, discuss, consider appointment of Joe Schaefer to the Public Defender's Board, replacing Diane Young. Term expires June 30th, 2022. We have 1 appointment, if I'm not mistaken, on the Public Defender's Board.
As far as I know, we do have 2.
2 appointments?
Yeah, Mr. Harris, Reverend Harris is also a commission appointee,
Okay.
as I understand, on that board. But Ms. Young had submitted a letter of resignation to be effective October the 1st. And then Mr. Schaefer had submitted an email. The commission requested that he fill out the normal a board appointment letter, or form, which he has done.
All right, motion to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Item 9, review, discuss, consider appointment of Jim Denny to fill a 3-year term expiring of Mark Griffith on October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2023. And on that board, we do have 2 appointments to the Central Board, right?
Yes,
And 1 that we co-share with Clarksburg for a Bridgeport appointment.
correct.
Just like the note of the agenda.
That's just what I was gonna ask.
Okay?
I'm sorry.
Did you get that, Susan?
Yeah, that's why I was gonna ask that question.
Okay.
I apologize for that.
Let me share with you, I've served on other boards with Mr. Denny before. I'm pleased that somebody stepped up with his caliber with the, financial background and accounting and so on, but, it's a pleasure of, the commission. Any further discussion?
So it
Hearing
is
none. All
Central.
in favor, say aye.
It is Central, okay.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Item 10 is review, discuss, consider rental agreement between the Harrison County Commission and the West Virginia Armory Board early voting polling. Susan, that's a great move over there.
Let's see.
Motion to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You could take care of a lot of polling places in that place.
Yeah, but this is just for early voting.
Yeah, I know, but.
Yep.
Item 11 is review, discuss, consider a change in the Harrison County ordinance authorizing volunteer fire departments and paid fire companies to charge fees, increasing fees to a maximum of $1,500. Mr. Carter.
Our current ordinance, that cap is $500, and I supplied that. That was from September of 2003 is when that was adopted. One of the things in review of that, if a fire department does enact a bill that's authorized by this ordinance, they're, as I read it, should be filing a copy with the clerk of the county commission, but none have been filed to my knowledge, and with discussion with Ms. Thomas. I did receive an email from the chief with the Clarksburg Fire Department. They billed this a few times, but not routinely or not in a, numerous time period or amounts. So it's a matter of, if the commission if we want to make contact with the other fire departments to see if they are billing the 500. If, my opinion is, if we're not billing the 500, I don't know if we bill the 1,500. Or maybe they would bill the 1,500 if they thought it was more beneficial.
Did the legislature approve the 1,500? I mean, the 500 had been there even before we did an ordinance. So
Yes.
the fire departments always had that ability for fire suppression to bill the property owner of that particular fee. The only thing we did was reaffirm that, wasn't it, in 2003?
Yeah, 2003, it does take an ordinance for the fire department, takes an ordinance by the county commission to authorize the fire departments,
Okay,
any paid or volunteer to bill that. The $500 to $1,500 fee was increased effective June of 2018.
and that's the legislature.
That's the legislature, yeah.
So, the only thing we would be doing is just amending ours to coincide with what the state has
Yeah.
already maximized.
We had a request from Mr. Marsh on behalf of the city of Clarksburg and on behalf of the city manager to increase the fee to
And I think,
$1,500.
and I think what they're trying to do is just make sure the counties and the municipalities are working together as a joint. Okay, discussion, Patsy?
No.
David?
I think I'd like to know what your fire department's been doing, if they've been charging or not. They haven't been charging, I'm not sure why we're increasing them.
But I think it's just to give them another tool in their toolbox, should they choose to wanna do that.
I'm not sure how the citizens of Harrison County would like to know, probably didn't know that they could get charged up to $1,500 and then have legal action taken for them after an incident at their house for a fire.
Yeah, I did see that part.
So when you talk about filing with the clerk's office, is that a lien filing?
No, it's
Okay,
a notification that they've been billing.
That they've been billing and that
Okay.
they're billing.
Yeah, according to the current ordinance, they're supposed to be, any fire department that does that is supposed to file that notice in the clerk's office that they sent a bill to XYZ or Jane Q or John Q. Public.
where you put that notice, what book do you put in that? So somebody, I guess it may, well, I don't know if you put it, I don't know, depends on what it says, I guess.
So if you don't pay it within 90 days, according to this, then they can sue you, the magistrate court sue you.
Then there would be a judgment,
Yeah.
if they,
Just trying to understand why we're establishing this as a higher fee for
Well, I think,
citizens of the county.
yeah, I think it's just to coincide with the, what the legislature has passed by moving it up, but, what's your pleasure, David, what you'd like to do? You wanna have staff,
Staff needs to research it, but if it's not being used, I don't know why we're
all right,
gonna increase it, and, like I said, I just,
Mr. Parker, your mandate then is to, provide a little more investigation with regard to that, and to answer the question, if they're not doing it and not charging, why do we need to do it?
All right, we can do that.
Okay with that, Patsy? All right, so that's a motion from David, however you want to form it, Susan. All in favor, say aye. All right,
try to
any
put it
opposed?
just like you said.
Yeah. All right, item 12 is review, discuss, and consider appointment of Clarksburg Harrison Library, Irene Moffato, from 7/1/20 to 6/30/25. So that's a 5-year appointment. I thought we had, who's our board on it?
Well, it's a rotating appointment. The director of the library, provided a letter. Evidently, this individual was appointed by the city of Clarksburg originally, and then there was research done by the staff at the library, and it should have been a county commission appointment this year, because they rotate from the city, Board of Education, county commission every 3 years. And so the director drafted a letter to the county commission requesting that this individual be appointed by the county commission retroactive back to the date of the term began, to clear up the misappointment, so to speak, by the city of Clarksburg.
Well, who's the appointment that we've already appointed? Have one in there?
We have made other appointments, but on the rotating basis, this was the year that the county commission makes the appointment. Each year that rotates between the city, county, and Board of Education.
I see.
And then the city made the appointment this year in error, and Jill was asking that the county commission concur with this individual for the term.
All right, what's the pleasure of the commission?
what's the next time the commission can make appointments?
5 years?
Well, it rotates. The next appointment would be of 2023.
All right, 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years. Every 3 years, it rotates.
So, well, we do get the next 2 appointments for mistake.
I, wasn't trading draft picks, but the next appointments would be, the city of Clarksburg in 2021, the Board of Education 2022, and then the county commission again in 2023.
So we get Clarksburg's pick when?
You get, Clarksburg's pick right now because they made it, or they took your pick, however you want to look at it. You're confirming, their request. We would not make another appointment until 2023. The city of Clarksburg would make, the next appointment of 2021, and then the Board of Education 2022.
What's that?
I don't have anything further.
All right, what's the pleasure of the commission? We have a motion to approve Mrs. Moffatt.
I'd like to modify that we're approving what the city of Clarksburg's appointment.
That sounds good. Joanne will print that. You heard that, right? We're working cooperatively with Clarksburg and doing this appointment, getting them out of Hawk. All right, all in favor say aye. Aye, any opposed? All right, item 13, review, discuss, and consider notice of public comment period regarding legislative rule 10-01J as in Juliet, valuation of producing and reserve oil and natural gas properties for ad valorem property tax purposes. Mr. Parker or Parker?
This legislative rule, of course, they're amending the current valuation procedures for producing reserve oil and gas as directed by previous litigation. The state, when I say they, the state tax department, previous litigation mandated that they revise their valuation process. This is the legislative rule as a result of that, and they put that out for public comment period through September the 21st at 10 a.m. If the commission would want, or the assessor, or a joint, comments or statements, then they would need to be filed by that timeline. But I included the proposed rule just so you would have that to review.
Roger, you see any issues?
No, from what I understand on this, this was the court case that went to Supreme Court on operating expenses and stuff. And this will be adjusting those. And actually, once that's adjusted, we may have some of those taken off of the agenda once these companies get that.
But this deals mostly with the states and trusts.
Correct.
And they can both be separated taxed.
From what I understand.
So we see that we don't have a lot of that issue in the county, or
We're gonna have a couple, but I don't think it's gonna be a problem. It's actually from what I understand from the attorneys, Wayne Williams, once these go on there, then he feels like some of those that they have on Board of Appeals and stuff may be removed because once they adjust this, they'll be taken care of.
so it's just severing the,
This is some of
as far
that,
as it going in all these estates.
yeah, I believe so.
So that.
We've got to adjust the rate back from what this put it to, and then redo this. I actually believe, I think Cindy Hooper's already completed that part.
You see it not affecting us financially with those rulings come out, whether or not we need to.
No, I don't think so. I can look more into it.
I don't have any other questions.
All right, Patsy? No questions? Motion to approve?
That's your preference.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
I'm assuming that motion was approved to make it part of today's record.
So that absolutely, Mr.
Okay.
Parker, that was a test and you passed.
Thank you, sir, I appreciate that.
You vote to what?
Aye, because what you said, I voted no.
Oh, okay. Did I say that? Okay. I'm so used to that, you know? Okay. Try to add a little life. All right, item 14 is to review, discuss, and consider agreed order regarding petition to probate a holographic will in solemn form, the state of Irwin Ashcraft. Susan, do you have any objections to that?
No, I do not.
Mr. Parker, anything that we need to be made aware of that we don't already know?
No, this was the
This is the
hearing.
one that they came,
Yeah.
well, they came and they didn't get noticed, but they got an agreement.
Yeah,
correct?
the, one individual was not noticed on the hearing.
Right.
And the commission approved an agreed upon order, so it just needs the president's signature now.
All right, motion, to allow the president to affix his signature. All right. Any further discussion? David? Betsy? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, item 15, we do have a hearing at 11:30, but item 15 is commissioners' comments. Mr. Treehouse.
I do. I wanted to tell, the assessor, I appreciate everything you said, and we uniquely agree on exactly what you said about everything. I understand the state. I also understand that you have done a great job of keeping probably 17% below what you could tax our citizens, and I'm glad you do. I'm no more in favor of taxes than anybody. We, over the past 4 years, have moved money from savings to balance the budget. It comes from the reports that you turn in, and the sheriff turns into us, the billing turns into us. The obvious thing right now, with all that's going on, is to be patient. We are paying our bills through some of our savings. Eventually, our savings will run out. As I said yesterday, 4 years exactly like we had over the past 4 years, we will be flat. That means no savings. All we have to have is exactly 4 years as we go down there. You and I know, unfortunately, living in Harrison County, that the first thing to do when things start going south, because your budget's not balancing itself, is to cut payroll. We know that Carbon, the first thing they did was cut payroll. We know that Thrasher just cut payroll on the oil and gas has changed. We know Antero has cut payroll. We know that on a national level, the airports are getting ready to lay off 24,000 people nationwide. MGM Studios was announced 18,000 people nationwide. Now, hopefully, if we become what I think is gonna be House 4, if we build a building, we will be able to do it through attrition, and we won't have to have a mass slaughter. And while we do have the biggest assessor's department we've ever had in history, the biggest sheriff's department, the biggest prosecuting attorney's department, the biggest everything in the courthouse we've ever had, that's what will be the first thing we go after if we cannot pay our bills, and that will be payroll. Because it's the obvious thing. It's been obvious from beginning of time. The first thing you do is go after payroll. So I am glad that we have the people downstairs to serve our citizens, and I know there's a line sometimes. But would we rather have a line and have the people to serve us? Because the line's only gonna get longer, even if it's a new building for somebody to wait on. And that's what's gonna happen if we do.
When I referred to the line, I was just referring to the fact that in normal times, we will not be working remotely. We will have them in here, and we have, we can work and wait on them. It's just a matter that we don't have counter space right now to bring people in, and then even when we do then, we don't have the counter space, but we can
I
cram.
agree with you. I understand that. I hear everything you say. I visit your office. I know how well you've adapted. I know how well it's managed. I just want to make sure you
I
understand.
can't take the credit for what everybody in my office.
Well, you have a great staff. Nobody's putting down anybody in the courthouse. We've done a great job. But what I'm telling you and what I'm saying with the budget, it's obvious to me. The answer to what you have is that we've got to decide our priorities right now. And it's not that I don't want to build a new building. And then, like I said yesterday, it's not that I don't want a new beach house. It's not that I don't want a pontoon boat. It's not that I don't want a Corvette. I got to decide what I can afford.
Understood.
And then the other thing I have is, well, this here bill I got a bill from Patrick Henry
Yes,
Wasn't that for David and Tim and Judge Matish's back and forth?
it's for the case that's ongoing between the county commission and circuit court, yes.
We are still,
That space has never been approved by the circuit court. Judge Matish has contacted Mr. Henry in the past 3 weeks asking for more information. I've sent additional emails. Some of it was a repeat to Mr. Henry. He is following up with Judge Matish this week, I think. But yes, that case is still ongoing. And Mr. Henry, in his discussion with me, there's never been a case file developed. There's no case number assigned to it. Mr. Henry, in his opinion, as I understand it, for proper procedure, there should have been a case file developed, a case signed, whatever that is, so he can make a response to the circuit clerk's office in that civil case. And that has not happened. We've had one hearing. I know the administrative office of the Supreme Court took a tour of the facility. And my follow-up discussion with Mr. Armstrong, not to speak for him at all, but as I understand their interpretation, when I say theirs, his and the Supreme Court's administrative office, the office space itself appears to be sufficient compared to many across the state. But the local circuit court system has not approved that office space. I don't know, to my knowledge, they are still not at full staff. But if they get the full staff, they are looking for additional space, and that's where the commission had allocated that space to be. It's not just between Commissioner Hinkle and Judge Matish, it's the overall commission that is involved.
I sent you an email, and I'd like it on the agenda. I'm asking in so much as the makeup of the Harrison County Commission will change January 1st, 2021, that in order to afford the differences to the new commissioners regarding the property or move forward with the project, that the Harrison County Commission shall have the option for the period of 90 days from the day of the start of the construction to the client and until the contract, cancel the contract entered into by the Harrison County Commission. And at no further cost to the county except the reasonable value of the construction service rendered at the time of the Harrison County Commission chooses to exercise this option. I'd like that on the agenda next meeting, please.
We can
And
do
I
that.
want it verbatim, and if somebody wants to add a different agenda item to rearrange those words, make it separate from that one.
We can do that.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have, Mr. President.
All right, David?
Actually, I enjoyed your on TV last night, thought that was great. And I'm just curious on if we do not spend this money, what you propose for the taxpayers. You keep talking about the taxpayers and jobs and economic development, and all you give me is the airport. Is that the only item that you have said is to give us economic impact and grow jobs other than the airport? And my other question is, I think the building is 1.2, 1.3 million a year. Is that right, Mr. Parker?
Yes, sir, that's currently the estimate, yes.
And what you will
Or
take
less.
that money, if we do not spend it, what you propose to do with that money? You're always telling us that we have other ways to spend it, and I'm curious, you've never explained to us how this money's gonna be spent. And thirdly is what you consider proper savings for the county to have. You keep saying that we need to save money, but you never say how much. And if we're gonna save this money, what things are we willing to cut to save it? We're willing to cut the airport? Are we willing to cut rails, trails? Are we willing to cut equipment for the courthouse? I hear a lot of rhetoric, but I never hear any answers on how you're gonna save this money and build the savings back up. I wait with eagerness to hear your financial planning for the county for the rest of this year and next year. I hope it comes soon, because I think there's a lot of people that would like to know what your intentions are for the county financially, because it seems that it's a one-man show at this point, and Mr. Watson and I are not part of your plan for the county going forward.
Willie, do we know what the rate will be for the bond, for the new project?
No, they haven't been finalized yet. The bond ordinance, puts a limit on what the interest rate would be. You know, they've made some calculations or projections, our, financial advisor or, placement agent, has made some projections, but the cap is 5%, the projections is in the neighborhood of 3%, you know,
Can you tell me the difference if it's 5 as opposed to 3?
I can run those calculations, yes.
Why don't you do that? Because this 1.2 he just spoke of is up in the air so high, I can't even tell you. We have no clue what our monthly bill is gonna be. Right now, at 15 years, at 3%, it's $134,000. Do you know what 2% changes on a project that big?
Yeah,
So when we're talking about go ahead,
No, go ahead, because
No.
you're going 15 years, go 15 years.
Or you can go 20, or you
Or
can
30.
go 25, or you can go 30, but without the numbers, we have no idea. So when you're talking to me about what my ideas are, how can I tell you what my ideas are when I have no clue what the numbers are actually gonna be, and neither do you?
Oh, I think if you took the time to talk to staff and to the people that are involved, I think you can find out pretty close what the costs are gonna be and what our rate will be, but you seem to already know all these numbers from what you tell us continuously, what our costs, and if we can't afford something.
No, I just told you right now, I don't know the numbers.
Well,
because
then
we
how
have
can you
no-
make a statement that we can't afford it?
Hey, Willie, let me ask you something.
Just asking a question.
I'm gonna ask Willie.
Be nice now, guys.
I am nice. Willie, let me ask you a
No, I
question.
know.
I signed a bill for $8,100 for new cans for the election.
For what?
For the election upstairs, the election.
Okay,
house.
yeah.
Who ordered them?
The commission wanted those ordered when we were going through the canvassing process, as I understand it.
If I didn't know about it and I talked to Ron about it and he didn't know about it, who ordered the cans?
Greg Dale actually went.
Who directed you to order the cans, Mr. Parker?
Commissioner Hinkle was involved in the process of processing the ballots, and then when we did the
I'll
canvassing.
say that I told him to get the cans, because I was the only commissioner that took the time out from this commission to work with the clerk's office to do the election, and if she can tell me how many hours before the election that either one of you spent trying to make sure this election was done properly and to protect the citizens, I would love to hear from her, considering neither one of you showed up election night and worked it. You did not show up until you were forced to as a commissioner and the other. Ron, you can say that you had an out.
Conflict of interest.
No, Supreme Court already ruled that's not.
Well, they were wrong.
Well, you can say they were wrong. But Mr. Treecoff, if we're gonna talk about that stuff, you wanna talk about rails and trails and Shinston? You wanna bring that one up?
Mr.
Do
Watson?
you wanna bring that one
I
up?
do, Mr. Parker, I
You
do.
wanna bring up how our employees,
I did.
okay, bring it up. Tell the county what you did down in Shinston.
But I go through Willie for everything.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
All right.
Willie?
Just as Commissioner Hinkle went through me, and I had Greg Dale make the placement of the can, yes.
And the cameras. And the cameras on the 3rd floor.
Cameras on the,
And after the last meeting, the cameras in the garage. Right?
not for me, cameras in the garage.
You have cameras put in the 3rd floor in the building?
Yeah, that was requested.
Oh, yes, that for election night, and, yes.
And,
was requested.
and the.
By whom?
For whom?
I'd have to go back and check, I don't remember, I mean, I don't
I'm
remember.
just curious. I don't wanna get in the middle of this,
So
but
really, who's one man show has been
Hey, I said, let's talk about Shinston.
Let's talk about Shinston.
Yeah.
So let's do it, get it out in the open, get everything out in the open.
That's
Because
fine.
my point to you is, it has been a one-man show, and I don't mind. I think the cans should, I'm glad we got new cans, I'm glad we got cameras. But don't, when I do everything out in the open, everything I've read has been from our reports, don't accuse me of things that I do out in the open.
What did you get accused of?
You just said I was a one-man show, and I'm
I
simply.
said you're a one-man show as far as budget. You got how money's gonna be spent.
David?
Ron and I don't have any input anymore. You wanna tell us how it's all done?
David, I'm gonna ask you this right now, and
Ask it, Patsy, ask it.
who was the county commission that walked out into a budget meeting? We had our opportunity, you, Ron, and I, to go over the budget, which I believe is line by line. Never in history have I had, as an elected official, had somebody walk out of a budget meeting because they didn't want to participate before. It was your call to walk out of the budget meeting. If you think I've got to take the budget by myself, you're right. When it's time to do it in the open, you leave. So what do you want me to do? Do you want me to do it with you? I will.
I
Do you
don't,
want me
Patsy,
to-
I
or do you want me
prefer,
without
I
you?
prefer we stay the way we are.
Okay.
If I might interject,
But we're not done. He's gonna tell what he's done with the
Okay.
rails to trails money. And spending county labor on private property.
The city of Shinston paid for the rock at our guy's credit.
And on whose property? Whose property did it get spread on?
I don't know.
You don't know. You just sent our people down there to do it.
It was from the bridge to,
And you just sent our people down there to do it. You don't have any idea who owned the rail.
who owns the rock trail?
But I'm asking you, you sent our maintenance people to do work on a trail with county funds, and you did not find out who owned the trail.
We
I
said,
asked you a question, who owned the trail?
I don't know. I guess the city of Shinston.
Are you sure? Did you even look into it? Not private property, didn't belong to Marion County? If it did belong to a private individual, is that person gonna reimburse us, or are you gonna reimburse
Is it
us?
Marion County's or is it a private
I
individual?
asked you a question.
I've already been humble enough to tell you, I don't know.
Well, Mr. Parker, please find out where that gravel was spread,
All right.
and how much time was spent on it, and how much county money was spent.
Oh,
And let me say for the record, Willie, from this point on, anytime we can partner with our municipalities to make the county better, I'm in favor of it always.
Do you have anything in that wrong?
They've maintained that.
Well, I didn't vote on that. Did you vote on that? I think Mr. Treecost
well,
authorized.
I think
Mr. Treecost authorized maintenance to go down there to Shinston and go to work. Through Mr. Parker, he did not come to the commission to do it. Mr. Treecost again set us up to go work on the state of West Virginia rail trail in the city of Salem with our employees. Again, we did not vote for it.
And again, let me say again on the record, anytime we can make our county
That's
better
not it, Patsy.
with partnerships
Not how it
with
works.
any municipality or any county entity, I'm in favor of it. So what you're pointing your finger at me, I agree. I am always for partnerships where we can make the county better.
that if I might, I know we have a 11:30 hearing.
I don't have any more to say.
Mr. Parker, it is, I have, over the years, prior to becoming an elected official, I have been staffed, as you already know, for a lot of elected officials. One of the tasks that I think you should be responsible for when any of the three of us come to you, and if you feel that we should, just don't take it for gospel, and we understand you have to take the funerals, we take the parties, not you, we take the parties.
yes, sir. That's correct.
And as we come to you, and maybe our intentions are good, but maybe there's a little thing that you should say, well, do you have that second vote? And that it should go before an action item. Just remind us that. This way it'll keep everything in its proper context. I would like to also add just a couple of things. I'm going to take pride. Thank you, Patsy. for reminding, the taxpayers that, that when you guys came in here, we had a big surplus. I want to, recognize, Commissioner Romano and Gotti and Fazini and Watson, that we were very much conservative commissioners. And at that time, we did what we thought we had to do to preserve not raising taxes and cutting payroll. You were talking about, should we get to the point where we'd have to cut payroll? The other element you didn't put in there was commissions also have that ability to raise taxes. And that has never been, during my tenure here, an item that ever wanted to consider, and our previous commissions, was the same with regard to raising taxes. The one thing, I would like to comment on expenditures. The best financial people have given us that 1.1 million as the price tag.
They're looking at, as I understand their projections, a maximum of $23 million bond issue, which they believe will be under that, but they're setting the bond ordinance with maximums that will allow, for the project, to move if the commission so desires, a maximum interest rate of 5%. But I can run the numbers and they can run the numbers easy enough.
Number, I don't need the numbers.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that.
And up to a 30-year period with flexibility of payback.
Right.
Is what we're looking at.
Right.
So,
So the best numbers that Patsy could have, or that we could have, is really the 1.1 million.
1.1, 1.2, somewhere in that neighborhood, depending on the final amounts, yeah.
And the other thing, over the past couple years, we've had a lot of one-time expenditures that's not gonna be there in the future. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So unless you have a heat and air that goes out in this building again, it's gonna cost us over $1 million or whatever. That now should be a savings for the future budgets.
Correct.
Unless you spend it on other stuff,
But
right?
other.
But you
yes.
could save that and build back up your surplus, if that's what you wanna do.
Correct.
All right, I just wanted to bring those couple things, to mind, and David, with all due respect, as running for, commission, I thought it, even though the Supreme Court may have said, what my obligation was, they didn't realize apparently that I was running for office, and that I didn't want to have any kind of perception that I had any involvement with the election process.
Well, they determined that that's not the case.
I understand, but they didn't know Ron Watson was running either. And I don't think.
And I'd just like to point out, the boxes were also ordered because this county had never, and it's nothing against the clerk, but the boxes had never been
Locked.
with two locks, and it never had the proper procedure. And
I beg your pardon.
I mean,
beg your
as far as two locks go, it's never been done.
But it is not the responsibility of the county commission to help us with those ballots. Yes, the canvas, you are responsible, but as far as processing those ballots during early voting, that is not the responsibility of the
And
county
no
commission.
commissioner has to be there.
No,
till
no,
afterwards
sir.
this year.
No, sir.
Okay, don't
Other
mind
than-
that.
Well, you can check it out, other than opening the doors where the ballots are, you can check out and see if I'm correct or not.
I will.
Okay.
Any deficiencies prior to, David, you and Patsy, I'm guilty.
We all are. I
So,
mean,
all right,
I'm just saying that.
all right, ready for
you guys
rebuttals.
must be there.
Rebuttals. Any rebuttal, Patsy? Any rebuttal, David? I just want to condemn our peaceful demonstrators the other day, Mr. Friesa, city councilman, and some others that protested as the concerned people not wanting us to do anything with the building over there. So,
I would hope Mr. Teresa then would, look at the property that he owns around the, airport, and, considering we can't afford to probably purchase it ever, that, we look into, zoning his property so that he doesn't ever sell somebody that builds apartment buildings.
All right? Mr. President, if you hear that, you can respond to David by email.
Please, I would love to hear from you.
All right. Hearing, nothing else under public comment, commissioner's comment, we'll go to 11:30. We have, review, discuss, and, consider recommendations, regarding, Ms. Nix. Heather, if you would like to come up. And I want you to know that you have the prerogative of having your, this proceeding either in open, or you can have it in executive commission's, session. So it's, certainly up to you. I see we have our legal counsel there. Sam, good to see you again.
I wish to, before we start, apologize for my attire. I wasn't planning to be in the courthouse today, but normally I'm in my coat and tie, sir.
You want us to put you in contempt and give you a time to go
Well,
dress properly?
well, if this was Judge Matish, I'm sure I'd be in the lockup right now.
Anyway, Heather, just to let you know that, you know, you can have it in open, or you can have it in an executive session, closed meeting.
I prefer the open.
You prefer open?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Parker, set the stage for us, please.
All right, Mr. President, as you said, the recommendation from, staff, from my recommendation is a reduction in pay grade from 8.7 to 4.7, due to a call that we had, on or about, I think it was August the 7th. I think we have that call available, to listen to, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
If the commission would so desire, like to listen to that call or not, we just had it ready to queue up if need be. But we failed to provide response to a 911 call. The call, and Mr. Bump and Mr. Copenhaver are more technical of how the system works, but an individual called 911, actual 911 line. All the 911 lines were busy. There are 6, as I understand it. So it rolls over to a 7-digit line at that point, a 7-digit number, and which it did. And there was evidently a call from the cell phone. The individual making the call first indicated Marshall Street, then Concord Street by asking another individual the address of 217. You know, there was some hesitation there at first, and then 217 Concord Street was relayed to us. But a gentleman evidently had fell on the walk, had hit his head and was bleeding, and so that's the reason the initial call was made. And we did review with Ms. Nix, Mr. Bump, Mr. Copenhaver, Ms. Sell, and myself. We had a meeting earlier this week with Ms. Nick, went over the call, went over the recommendation that would be presented, indicated that, you know, in our review, there was sufficient information available to send response to an address that was given. Whether it was a correct address or not, that's not our determination to make. If it, you know, our dispatchers or 911 staff are not there to make a judgment call per se of whether I send help for this call or not. We send help. It's our responsibility to the best of our ability. And so it's up to the commission if you want to listen to the call at this point.
All right, so we're only talking about one situation.
One situation at this point. As it indicates, we had another situation we reviewed at that meeting, but that situation would not have warranted this recommendation, in my opinion. It's the situation we're dealing with as that August 7th call and not sending help.
All right. Do we need to swear people, Mr. Parker?
No, it's not a court proceeding. It's an administrative
Administrative?
matter. It's a matter of whether you want to hear the call or how you would like to
Well,
proceed.
I personally would like to hear it. I'm sure my other two commissioners certainly would do it. Johnny, make it loud enough.
Sir, yes, sir.
August 7th, 2020, 12 hours, 37 minutes, 16 seconds.
Headquarters, Mac. Yeah, and I need a, ambulance, an elderly man had fell and his head's bleeding.
Okay, hold on 1 second, please. What's the address?
Marshall Street, 21-7.
What is it?
You know what the address here is? Concord Street.
Okay, what's the house number?
217.
Can you call 911 instead so I can figure out where you're at?
I did call 911.
Well, it rolled over because we were taking a bunch of phone calls. I need an address. I can't send somebody without an address. Hello? Mick?
Hey, it's Marcia. I'm in station on a follow-up.
Okay.
Thank you. That last was another call, but that was the end of the call. And my discussion with Mr. Bump and Mr. Copenhaver is, and Ms. O and Ms. Nick is, there was sufficient address, and Mr. Bump and Mr. Copenhaver can speak for themselves, sufficient address that emergency services should have been sent to 217 Concord Street.
Is, Heather, I don't know whether you or calling in, when you get a call from, third line or whatever it's called, the other line, do we have the ability to call back? No, we do not.
When it rolls over from another line, it's, the number that's displayed is the trunk number. We do not get the calling party's 7-digit number. So no, there was no way to initiate a callback on that.
All right, and apparently somebody hung up?
It's my understanding the lady disconnected, for whatever reason it was disconnected.
The address was clear enough that it was
Yes.
217 Concord Street?
You know, there was not another 911 call placed by that individual or any other individual, to my knowledge, Mr. Bump or Mr. Copenhaver. Additional questioning from other employees in the dispatch room, did anybody receive a 911 call from? You know, to my knowledge, that action was not taken. It was, Mr. Bump and Mr. Copenhaver can speak. The call was marked as completed, if I remember right.
That's correct.
Did the individual get medical help?
No, not from us.
From anybody? I mean, is that in the county or is it in the city or?
I'm not,
Where?
In the city.
City. Clarksburg.
gentleman
Okay,
died.
Clarksburg Fire or Rock CMS respond to the call? Did the guy go to the hospital? No.
Gentleman died a week later. I'm not sure
I
about that.
understand, we'll get to that.
Yes. I don't know if he ever went to the hospital or not.
All right, other questions? David, I'll start with you.
No, I don't have a question.
Patsy? No questions. Heather, anything that you would like to present either individually or through your counsel?
On behalf of the commissioners, the concern here isn't necessarily the subject of the call, while that is somewhat relevant. I'd call to the attention of the commissioners that the county in its employee handbook has a progressive discipline policy. When you review that policy, it specifically outlines the manner upon which employees should be disciplined. it's set forth in three sections of levels, three levels of discipline. It's on page 31 of your handbook. And written warnings are to be provided to the employee under a set of offenses, and then it goes up in the levels regarding the egregiousness of the event. At best, what I'm hearing on this call is what would fall into an inefficiency or a negligence type of action by the employee. The concern I have is that the discipline that is being proffered immediately goes to a loss of rank and pay, which would then go up to a section 2 or 3, which is more along the lines of intentional conduct, such as sleeping on the job, absenteeism, sexual harassment, unlawful discrimination, blah, 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 gross insubordination. Those are all intentional actions which would fall into conduct of a suspension or termination or something of that nature. Ms. Mick has been with the county for 18 years. She has no prior written warnings, prior reprimands, no written prior reprimands, and no prior discipline. So this would fall, in my opinion, squarely within the guidelines of a written reprimand for a first offense for a negligent action. Now, the commission can obviously do what they want, but if you're going to follow your procedures, the procedures set forth in your handbook would squarely fall this, in my opinion, within a written reprimand, as opposed to a loss of pay or deduction in rank. And that's just my opinion. If you have any questions about my interpretation, feel free to ask. And
Mr. Harold, with your explanation of the county health handbook, and I'll yield to Mr. Parker here in a minute. Are you saying Ms. Mix was guilty of something?
well, first of all, I'm going to say I don't know that she's guilty of anything, because my understanding, and Mr. Bump can address this, but my understanding is that when a call comes in, if the 911 center is overloaded, it goes to the business line. And when the business line comes in on Ms. Mick's computer, it gives a generic phone number and gives her no other additional information. At that point in time, all the information she can get is from the caller. What I heard on the call was a lady that gave 2 different addresses for a potential incident, which she tried to get additional information on by having the individual call back on the actual 911 line, which would give you all the location information and who the caller was and all that. I don't think it's her fault that the 911 center doesn't have a sufficient number of lines or staff to field every single call that comes in. So obviously this is my opinion, but in my opinion, what I heard on the call was some confusion. She did the best that she could with what she was handling, and the caller just never called back. At best, if the county thinks she did something wrong, I would say that at best you're talking about a situation that falls into Section 1, which is negligence, performance, in her duties. And if you think she actually did that, that warrants a written reprimand as a first offense. So your decision at this point, I think, would be to say, well, she didn't do anything wrong, we'll let this pass. Or 2, if you think she did something wrong, I think the best you're looking at is a written reprimand.
All right. Mr. Parker, if you don't mind, give us your version of the progressive discipline in our employee handbook. How is it administered?
I'll ask Ms. Bell to get a complete copy of the handbook. First of all, it's not a progressive discipline policy. That is clearly stated in the handbook, that nothing in the steps prevents, and it's specifically not a progressive disciplinary policy. You can immediately, whatever the action is, you can take action up to including termination of employment, and that is spelled out in our handbook. I'll get you the verbiage whenever Ms. Bell gets me the copy. But that is a clear indication, black and white, in our handbook. So, in my opinion, the commission for whatever action, you know. If Willie's wearing a brown shirt today and you don't like that, see you later, Mr. Parker. Now, that may not hold up in court, but you have that latitude under our handbook, policy. Those specific, and it says in there, these are not all inclusive, these are, you know, certain instances that may or may not fall into certain categories. But there's nothing in our disciplinary policy that would prohibit, whatever the recommendation may be or whatever the action the commission may take. As it relates to, in my understanding, talking to Mr. Bump and Mr. Copenhaver, Marshall and Concord are an intersection with another street.
They're very close to each other with confusing street names in that neighborhood.
Yeah. So even if we would have sent to Marshall Street, which was the first name given, but then was clarified to Concord Street, 217. To me, it was clear it was 217 Concord Street. That was the last address given. Even if that address is wrong, it's our responsibility as the county 911 staff, Mr. Bump, Mr. Copenhaver indicated in our meeting, many times we may have an address that may not be in our system, but we send response to the address that's given. There's instances, especially within some of the municipalities, where the addresses may be confusing because they may not be following our 911 standard numbering system, which they don't have to do because the city can opt out of that, and many of them have. And so, you know, to say you don't have an address, we did have an address. We didn't have it up on the screen. You know, Mr. Bump, Mr. Copenhaver, maybe even Ms. Mick were employed at the system when you didn't have that type of information previously. You had to depend on the call to the best of your ability, whatever information they gave you. You know, you didn't have an address from a landline phone that appeared on a screen. You had a phone number, possibly at best, and then the information given. But the progressive discipline policy, back to that, there is not a progressive disciplinary policy where you must go to step one and do this, this, and this. And if it's this, you go to step two, do this, this, and this. That's not, in my opinion, a fair interpretation or intent of our policy, and I'll get the verbiage as soon as I get
All right,
the final copy.
we'll get back with you on that once you get the copy in here, but I would like to ask, Bump and Copenhaver, do you have SOPs as to how something like this would be handled?
Well, something like this is basically you had a location, you had a problem, it just should have been dispatched.
So what does your SOP say? I'm sure you have an administrative, you have a policy for everything, every action out there. You don't call them, you just call them. I mean, you know, you get something in there, it's not up to you to make that decision. They say, I need an ambulance, you send an ambulance. Do you have any policy on that?
If they need an ambulance, send an ambulance.
Pardon?
If the call is for a medical problem, yes, you send an ambulance.
Was this call for a medical problem? So it should have been sent without question, is what you're saying.
The words were, I need an ambulance, yeah.
Okay. No written policy on that, though.
Sure. It's in our call taking procedures.
There is?
And in our, emergency medical dispatch, which we couldn't get to on that one because we disconnected way too fast.
Okay, but you do have
I
it.
mean, the caller, not.
All right. Mr. Parker, did she bring that in to you?
No, not yet.
Yes, I have it, I was looking to make sure that the information was in there.
Jessica, if you don't mind, Willie will defer back to you. Mr. Harold does have the page number, in case you need the page number,
31.
31.
If you'd like, I can. I don't have page 32.
Yeah, that was my concern,
I need page,
like page 36.
I need page 32, Ms. Jessica, if you could. But all employees are required to,
Look on the back page, there may be another one.
excuse me, yes,
How about
there you
that?
go, thank you.
All right.
You know, the second paragraph says the following list is not all inclusive or complete, but is given as an examples of some of the most common infractions found in an employment setting. The discipline set forth below is the discipline which typically renders. However, the level of discipline may increase or decrease as the circumstances warrant and is at the discretion of the county. Previously, disciplinary history may impact the response to a violation or policy. The county may use any number of these steps in combination or sequence, or may skip steps as warranted by the circumstances. But
right.
that paragraph there gives you the flexibility as a commission, basically, to take whatever action you deem necessary.
Actually, it's the supervisory, right? It only comes to us if they appeal.
Yeah, it refers to the county, that's correct.
Right,
Administrative staff, and then
correct.
to the commission if they disagree with the administrative staff.
All
And
right,
as, you know, just as Mr. Bump, Mr. Copenhaver, or myself as administrative staff, we have no authority to, A, suspend somebody without pay. We have suspended with pay before because there's no loss of economic, and Heather was, off for a couple of days with pay as a result, just to allow for the hearing, not to put her in a work situation where she would feel under stress or whatever. So you are off with pay until the hearing.
all right, let me open it up for questions. Open it up for questions from, the other commissioners. Patsy, any questions, direct or otherwise?
Yeah.
David?
What was the day of the incident?
August the 7th. And we became aware of it, when we were advised, and there was some communication from another department, and they initially communicated with an incorrect email address, I think, to Mr. Copenhaver. That's correct. And then they followed up, and once Jim, you know, became fully aware of the past week.
Last Friday, sir.
Okay. Then we had the meeting Monday with Ms. Mick and the other staff involved.
And how did you become aware of the incident?
Monday morning.
Monday morning? When did you guys become aware of it back there?
Monday morning for me, Friday afternoon.
Friday afternoon for me.
I guess the big issue for me is why nobody was back.
You can answer again.
The caller hung up. I thought she was going to call back on 911 like I had asked her to do. As soon as I disconnected the line with her, you heard, I answered another phone line. So I didn't know that she didn't call in and talk to somebody else and they got sent.
Well, I guess the issue for me is that she could have called back on 911 line once, twice, 3, 4 times, and still get the roller.
That could be a possibility. However, you know, that's something that I was willing to try just so I could get her location from her phone.
Did you at any time get with your other operators to see if there was a call back for that location?
No, because at that time we were busy. Obviously, I'll say we were busy because I don't really remember. This was over 3 weeks ago now. A lot of things happened in my life since then. So just by listening to the call and knowing that it rang from 911 to a business line, obviously we were really busy. I did find out there was a big accident on Route 20 near Bell Meadows. So of course, law enforcement's busy, fire, EMS dispatchers are busy, or taking a ton of calls. So you're talking there could be an hour in between before I have a chance to have a conversation other than, hey, I need this, hey, I need that, hey, I need this.
Are you an officer with the 911?
I have been a sergeant for 10 years.
What capacity do you serve on your own shift?
I'm either in charge of the room every Saturday, or I am second or third in command, depending on what day of the week it is and what other officers are present.
So you had no notes were you had taken that this person called in, no hand notes to go back and verify whether or not somebody's been dispatched?
No,
You just went on
took other calls
and the reason you didn't dispatch?
because I thought she was calling back to verify the address.
That, that seems pretty, I hate to use the word, but negligent if somebody called in and you told them to call back and somebody follows up to see if
But I didn't have any way to follow up.
something-
her phone line d-
Saturday, or
No,
were you
it was on a Friday.
supervisor?
And
Did you
when,
notify your supervisor of this issue?
no,
So, that's enough.
One thing, just to follow up for our employee handbook, on page 4, which is a disclaimer, underlined, bold print. Notice to employees, the employee handbook of personnel guidelines is not intended to create any contractual rights in the favor of the employee, nor does this employee handbook of personnel guidelines alter the at-will nature of the employment relationship between Harrison County and its employees, which means that the employee may resign at any time and the employer may discharge an employee at any time with or without cause.
All right. Other questions, David?
I don't, sure answer the rest of my question.
I do have a couple others. Do we know whether this individual, seeked any kind of medical attention other than third party? And I reckon coupled with that, the reason for his death. Why did he die? Did he die of a hemorrhage? Do we know?
We do not know, Mr. President, to my knowledge, we do not know, didn't investigate that part of the, response. I just dealt with our lack of sending an ambulance and a lack of responding to an emergency call.
Well, I think it would be nice to know whether or not he jumped up and ran and got in a car and somebody took him to the hospital or took him to his doctor. And if they did an autopsy or whatever because of, I don't know how old of an individual this person was, but, the cause of death. I mean, Susan, we may have your death certificate down there, so whatever person's name is, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the person's name, didn't inquire or make an inquiry to that.
Guys, here's where I'd like to take this, David and Patsy. I don't think we have enough individual information ourselves, or I personally don't, to make a decision one way or the other. I'd like to have about a week in order to deal with questions that I may have for Mr. Parker or Mr. Bump and his staff. That's just my feel, without us getting together out of the sunshine. We don't need to do that, but it would give each of us an opportunity to think this thing through, to follow up on some other individual investigations that you may want to do on your own, to get a good sense and come back and make a decision that's in the best interest of everyone. I mean, that's my feeling.
Mr. President, just based on our earlier discussion, I would caution the commission of doing independent investigations outside of the corporate body. Now, if the corporate body has anything and then issues a directive to administrative staff to bring information back, I would recommend that course of action.
Well, I don't know what questions to ask you, Willie, to bring back to me.
I understand that. Now, or if you want to communicate those questions to me, without
That'd be
input or
fine.
discussion or anything along those lines, without deliberating towards any decision. Oh, Willie, I thought of this
Okay.
question, I would like this.
Excellent, excellent.
I'd like this information
We
brought
just
back.
talked about that a few minutes ago.
Yes, we
didn't
did.
we? Sure did. Thank you very much. I don't know, what's pleasure?
President, I understand the concern nobody was dispatched. 2, there was no follow-up to why nobody was dispatched, or that whoever was in charge was not notified that they had a call if they didn't think they could dispatch. Those bother me.
All right.
And I just can't imagine at 911 that we would ever take a call, and I don't care the dispatch, if they get sent them to Charleston, you dispatch. It's something that's always been done. And so those are the things that bother me the most, is there was a complete, in my opinion, a failure of procedure.
Okay. I'll buy off on that, David, and you missed, one other one. That we have staff's recommendation who did thoroughly, supposedly investigate, and we have to give them the opportunity that, I don't know who all was in your group, Mr. Parker, but I'm assuming Copenhaver and Bump and Jessica and
There was
Heather.
Mr. Copenhaver, Mr. Bump, Ms. Bell, and myself, reviewed the information, sat down with Ms. Mick to review the information, and, to hear her side, of the incident, so to speak. And again, I don't want to speak for her, but as I remember the conversation, and Mr. Bump, Mr. Cover, and Ms. Selton, speak to it also, is I didn't have a sufficient address to send to an ambulance or emergency response to a sufficient address. Her question was, should I send resources on a address which may or may not be correct? Everybody in that room said yes.
All right. So your committees, you feel comfortable, with the recommendation that you guys are making?
The recommendation I've made, Mr. Bump, Mr. Copenhaver, and Ms. Self can speak to it. There was discussion after Ms. Mick left of reducing in rank to a level 6, which is a corporal, for a time period of review, and, whether that be retraining or whether that be just observation, for X number of weeks, months, whatever the case may be, and then bringing, satisfactory performance over a certain time period, bringing back up to a sergeant's level. Mr. Bump, Mr. Copenhaver, I think are in more favor of that.
She's better than, we're better than that, she's better than that, and I hate to lose or do anything to jeopardize that kind of experience and whatnot. We need to, as ourselves, understand what underlying conditions may have caused it, what are better ways of doing that. We're dealing with some new technologies that'll help us do that, that could have been used there that even Mr. Copenhaver and I didn't think about until yesterday. So there's other ways of play, that we can do better at this. We need to definitely study this and every incident like this, and I don't say bash ourselves, but certainly see, what have we done wrong, both at administrative level, training levels, and dispatch levels. That call should have been dispatched. There's absolutely no question about that. All right. But what can we do better to make sure that we don't let those drop through the cracks?
All right, you're comfortable with the recommendation?
No, not his recommendation. I'm not.
Mr.
What
Bump
are you
was,
comfortable with?
The last one he just recommended, a temporary reduction while we reevaluate, retrain, and
That's your recommendation, right?
my recommendation was based on, removing, the employee from any supervisory position. If the commission so desired, and I have no problem with Mr. Bump or Mr. Copenhaver's recommendation. Personally, I have no problem with it. The reason I made this recommendation was so the employee would not have any supervisory responsibility in the room. Level 6, a corporal, which is level 6, may have supervisory responsibility and control of the room on certain days, limited time periods. If that's the desire of the commission, I know Mr. Bump and Mr. Copenhaver are more in line with that. with a reduction to a pay grade 6 for a certain time period based on review of performance.
All right, David has a motion.
How about,
Go ahead, Sam.
I have an inquiry. According to the policy, the discipline's supposed to be determined by the department head. Is that Mr. Bump?
Actually, Mr. Bump works for the administrator.
Okay, so who,
So Willie would have the ultimate, responsibility of supervision for, any department under his, realm.
Oh.
And then Willie works for us. We don't work for
Mr. Bump, Mr. Copenhagen did, and Ms. Sell, I think too even, you know, want to go not to a pay grade 4. And my reasoning for going to the 4, I outlined. So whether you want to call it veto, override, that's what I brought forth.
Is there a tip server, did somebody observe the call? Do we have to get someone sent to list them on the call as they come in and go, so that we know the tone and manner of our employees?
That's a great question. Commissioner Juliet?
Oh, we program, do we, I don't understand the question, actually.
You have,
We have somebody that listens to calls occasionally, to our employees, you know, you get 60, we did.
Not nearly as much as we should, and that's part of what we're gonna talk about next week when we come see you. With some realignment to get a more robust review process.
We've been working on a plan of reallocating some staffing, for that, one of those being that very reason. More follow-up on calls, more follow-up on emergency medical dispatch, more quality control type aspect of our service.
As it stands now, there is a level of quality assurance, but admittedly it is, whenever we get requests for records, be it from another member agency, a law firm, FOIA requests, inquiries from the field, from the fire department, EMS, and law enforcement, we do a number of them, hundreds per year, but I also agree with Director Bump's comments, we can do better. And one of the things that we're gonna present next week is our proposal to do a lot better.
all right, Sam, last question.
last question, is there corrective action that could be taken, Mr. Bump, with the employee that doesn't impact pay?
I wouldn't recommend Mr. Bump getting a discussion with legal counsel during administrative hearing.
That's the question.
You've had the recommendation from myself, you've had a revised recommendation, if you want to call it that. I think there has, my opinion, my recommendation, there has to be some reduction for a time period at least, just to a supervisory responsibility, because I don't think you can remove supervisory responsibility and leave it to current pay grade. That's not fair to other staff, my opinion.
Can I say
Yeah,
something?
that's fine.
I just want to say something.
Go ahead.
A corporal, a sergeant, a lieutenant, we all have the same responsibilities. We all share the same responsibilities.
And
The difference is your year's experience.
they do all share supervisory responsibility. It's a matter of when that responsibility kicks in. Thus, that's why I recommended 4, although the revised, or another recommendation to consider, if you want to call it that, is 6, which is a corporal level. 8 is a sergeant, 10 is a lieutenant, et cetera.
You guys do know that I put that plan together.
Yes, sir, I do.
Back in
It's a good plan.
2005, I'm very familiar with how the organization is supposed to run. So with that, David, I'll yield to you. You said you had a motion.
Well, I just would like you guys to discuss here, that we go, see the sergeant, take it back to corporal for 3-month probationary period where, staff will evaluate in 3 months, relook at reinstated or back to sergeant, and also, 2 days off without pay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to that effect. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I just want to make sure Mr. Bump and Mr. Copenhaver. I do monitor the radios. Patsy takes care of the nuisance out there, with the dilapidated places. I take care of, 911 and law enforcement. I just want you guys to make sure you can be the best that you can be. You're given all the tools. You're given great pay and benefits, and for those who don't think that they're getting a fair wage for what they do, find another job. Find another job. Because there's people waiting in line for these jobs. And you choose to be there. So it should be a message loud and clear back to the rank and file. 911 was there when you got there, and it's going to be there long after everybody's gone. There'll be new groups coming in. So take that message back, Jim and Paul, as you all revise and revisit what your practices are going to be and how it should be. Don't second guess the officer or the 911 caller out there. Worst case is you send them and there's nobody. Best case is you send them and you save a life. So with that, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, anything else to be brought up? If not, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned, please.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, we're adjourned. Thank you, Cassie.